by having you to give us some information in reference to your background, education, and some of your experiences.
All right, my name is BWest. My education, I went to high school and got a little bit of college up under my belt, and but you know, I think most importantly is my background. My background is I come from a godly home, a Christian home, and grew up raised by my grandmother, and you know, my father wasn't there in my life, you know, but I continue to persevere, you know, through life, and I feel like I'm a very successful man now, and my experiences have been it's been very challenging. You know, I went out in the streets and, you know, had that particular lifestyle going on, but God delivered me from that. And so now I'm just passionate about people and want to see people do better and want to see people change and love God, and that's what my heart is.
And so you've had a change in your life, and so you think that you have some information that will allow other folks, if they understand what you're talking about, to change their lives. Is that what we're talking about today?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I feel like I've been through. I mean, change. I'm always changing, for the better. And so, you know, if I can help somebody along the way, that's what it's all about.
Ms. Casey, what about your experiences?
My name is Brittany Casey, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, North Nashville. I grew up in the hoods, and I did have a lot of struggles growing up, but I've always been the one to love people, and I always wanted better. I fell to the system at a young age, so I made some terrible choices, but I paid for them. And then I'm just trying now to better and show other people that even though you fall, you can get back up and you can make it and be better.
What are some of your experiences that you think that folks ought to be familiar with to know that you've changed?
Well, everybody that knows me now, I've always done hair. I started doing hair off the porch when I was like 9 years old. Then I started in school, but I went to school after my incarceration period, and then I went, and now I'm working at my family-owned business salon, and then now I give back to the community. That's my gift back to others, by going back into the community and showing them love and showing them, hey, it's better out here.
In other words, you think that your experiences should be able to help others to overcome whatever negative things that they might have in their lives or their environment. And so you've lived it.
Yes, sir.
And so now you think that you can speak to it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Howard, over the last 2 minutes, what about your situation and your experiences?
I went to Metro Public Schools at Maplewood High School, and I went on to TSU. I was considered at the time one of the best and the brightest in this country, I mean, as far as my mind was. But once I got there, you know, my family was going through some personal struggles, some financial struggles, and I was like most young men at that age, you know, figured that I needed to do something. So I got caught up in the street life. And, you know, the street life, you know, we make bad decisions, bad choices, and they take you down a road that ends up being incarceration. And for some people, it's even worse, it can be death, you know. You know, once I came out, you know, I knew that I had to change my mindset, you know, to do something better and to reach out and be supportive of, you know, young people like going through those same struggles. So.
And so you believe from the title that I think your organization, Personal Experiences and Change in Life Experiences, is that personal information that you can really change your own life, and you represent what that is all about. Is that what we're saying, Mr. Howard?
Yes, sir. Personal interest in changing character. The first thing that you got to do is you got to have a personal interest in yourself to want to do something different. And then from doing something different, you know, you got to have a change of mindset. You know, mindset is everything. And once you change your mindset, then your character will start to change.
But the most important thing is that the individual has to make up his or her mind
yes, sir.
that they want things to be different in
yes,
their
sir.
lives. And so
yes,
that's
sir.
what we'll do. And what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Excellent. This is 6 minutes Okay?
Okay.
Now, this 8-minute segment, we want to talk about what you want to talk about during this 8-minute segment. You want to talk about, we could take 8 minutes to talk about your changes, how you went through those changes and where you are now. We could give you 3 minutes to talk about that. We could also give you 3 minutes to lay out some of your problems and some of your changes that made you able to come to tell the world about your situation this morning. And of course, Mr. Howard, you can do the same thing. That's what we want to do now, because I think you've demonstrated that it is possible to change.
Yeah.
But now, solidify that by saying that this is what happened to me, you see, and then tell that story, you see. And so, we've got 8 minutes. And that's about 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes again. And then we'll have that last 2 minutes, because you might go over 2 minutes, you see. But, you know, keep it within that range, and then we'll have 8 minutes with that. And then the last segment, we'll have 10 minutes. And then we can branch out further in reference to it. But talk about yourself. Talk about why you have changed your life. You said what it means to you. All right? And so we'll call it personal interest and change in life experiences. I see what it means now. See, but that title is I see that happens all the time. You know, I can tell my own experiences. You know, I mean, and you wouldn't believe.
No, I believe, because I used to hear them stories.
You wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't believe.
Dr. Hayner, when I had your class, you
you
usually share them experiences.
You wondered how I got alive.
So like we'll know, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know,
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. West, Ms. Carson, Ms. Kaysen, and Mr. Howard, and they're talking about some of their experiences and how these experiences led to a change in lifestyle and change in whatever they had been doing prior to that time. And so, Mr. West, let's start off with you and give you a couple of minutes to talk about how you think that your life has changed, and give us some examples, some graphic examples in terms of why you are no longer who people thought you were a long time ago.
Okay, well, my story is different. My story, I was raised right. You know, I was raised to do the right thing, went to church, and, but I was still lacking something. You know, something was still missing. I knew I had a purpose for my life. And so what happened was I kind of put myself, I was self-sabotaging myself. I was putting myself in the streets when I knew I wasn't raised to be in the streets. And in that, I became more in depth in the streets. And it winded up just, drugs and alcohol and, everything that comes with that lifestyle, and it just got deeper and deeper, deeper until finally one day I just say, God, I'm tired. And once I got tired, I developed a personal interest within myself to say, you know what, something's got to change. And it wasn't nothing that I just surrendered, and so as I began to surrender my life, it wasn't an overnight process, but things began to change. I began to notice that, God began to reveal himself to me even more, let me know that he's real. I mean, I knew him from church, but I didn't have a personal experience with him in my life. And as he began to reveal himself more and more and more, I began to be able to see myself more clearer. And so I began to change. I began to change and come out of certain situations that I was putting myself in.
And you knew that you were changing because other people reacted to you differently because of those experiences and those changes. Would you say that? Absolutely,
absolutely, absolutely. I knew that I had changed because it was certain environments that I would try to go back to and I just didn't fit. I just didn't want to be there, and it was like, it pushed me out of that, you know what I mean? Because I believe once you begin to wake up to who you really are, you don't fit in those environments no more. You can try to go back and do that same stuff, but then some kind of a way you'll wind up getting, put right, you'll get reminded that, hey, look, that ain't where you're supposed to be.
Ms. Kaysen, there's an old song called The Things I Used to Do, I Don't Do No More. Now tell us about your situation in reference to that.
basically, I was 21, and I decided, even though I knew church and I knew my mom had raised me in church and stuff, I was like in a struggle basically in my life, going back and forth of what's right and what's wrong to do. And so I jumped out in the streets head first, even though I was raised in church, but I also lived in the hood. And so I decided to go rob, and thought I was not gonna get caught, and got caught. But my change really started in prison. A lot of people say change started once you step outside of prison, but my change started in prison because I had to take a step back and look at myself like, hey, is this the life you want for the rest of your life? You got nieces and nephews to look up to you, your mama, you don't want to disappoint the whole family. Like, life is so much bigger than that. So my change started in there, and I had to separate myself, and I had to get like my own understanding with God and my own relationship with Him, not just off my mama prayers and her fast. And I had to develop that for myself. But then once I stepped out of there, it was a whole nother, whoa. It was like I thought I was taking a step back, because I was always able to work and stuff. And once you do get a stigma on you and they label you, they try to keep that. And then like I started seeking help. And then that's how I got in touch with D. Howard through the personal interest changing, character changing program. And he helped me from day one. I told him what I wanted. I came out with my plan, and he helped me from day one. Like, he called, what you want to do? I want to go to school. I want to do hair. That's all I can do. I can't do nothing else. I know I can do hair. And he helped me. And I started school the next Monday. And ever since then, I took off. And like all my friends, I had friends go back. I had friends I stepped up and helped. I had friends I lost. And I was like, it's not no life for me. I don't want to go back.
But you know that your life had changed. And so, Mr. Howard,
yes,
evidently you're responsible in a real sense in terms of laying the foundation for people to understand themselves better. Talk about that from that perspective. How do you fit into being able to tell other folks what to do?
Well, I mean, you know, it's just through my own life experiences. I'm like, you know, most people, you know, I was raised in a two-parent home, which is kind of unusual now because you most got like single mother-led homes. But I was raised in a two-parent home. Father was always active in my life. Mother was an educator. So I knew the right things to do. I just simply lost my way. But when I lost my way, the first time, you know, I just went back to the same things I already knew. But the second time, I knew I had to do something different. I had children. I had a grandchild. And, you know, just through that, I needed to do something different. So I focused on trying to, you know, change myself, work on my attitude, my mindset, work on my abilities so I can be working and employed. And, you know, just through that life experience, I found that like, it's some things that are common to everybody, you know. And one of those things that's common to everybody is you have to have a relationship with God. That's first and foremost in everything for you to do anything. Secondly, you got to have a change of mindset, because whatever you're doing, until you change what you used to do to try to do something different, you know, it'll never happen for you. And then secondly, you know, you need to learn how to listen to people. You know, listening is one of the greatest qualities in communication that people just don't understand. You know, they spend a lot of time trying to tell people what to do. They want to dictate to people. But if you take the time to listen to someone, you could probably learn how to help them best for them.
I would imagine that during the last minute or so that we have in this segment, I would imagine that all three of you would be willing to tell young people that they have to change their lives, and all they have to do is to look at what you've done and how you've been able to overcome. And you would also say that religion played a significant role, because I think that is one of the things that comes out in all of the stories about what God has done.
Yes, sir.
And so you would also be willing to go out and to tell folks that this is what God did for me. And if you become God-centered, you see, you don't have to become a preacher or whatever, but all you have to do is to become God-centered, then wonderful things can happen in your life, just as you are demonstrating here to our audience today that you've had some change.